be open to joy. Someone has come with pain and sorrow. Let us be kind. Someone has come looking for a welcome eye and an open ear. Let us be peaceful and at ease. Someone is looking for justice, looking to be witnessed, looking to be seen again for the very first time. We can make that happen here. Choose, if you will, to feel welcome. Your voice, your life, your voice, your life, your voice, your life is very welcome in this place. Come, yet again. Come whoever you are. Wander, worship, daughter of me, as is no care of my love is said. Come yet again. Let me teach it if you know it. Come whoever you are. Wander, worship, daughter of me, as is no care of my love is said. Good morning. And welcome. Welcome to you. Welcome to you who are from Albany. Can we get a shout out? And those, I'm going through all of them, so get your voice ready. I got a list and everything. Saratoga Springs, where are you? And Glens Falls, you are? Yes, indeed. Schenectady, where are you at? And is that where we are? Kingston. And greetings from Ann Arbor, Michigan. I'm Dr. Glenn Thomas Rado. Oh, the worship team in Ann Arbor is so jealous of me this morning when I told them what a wonderful assembly you put together each year.
it is an honor to be with you and to be counted among your worship leaders this morning. I come from Ann Arbor as Ann Arbor Congregation's Director of Worship and Music, and I believe strongly in the power of innovative worship to renew minds, to strengthen hearts, and to lift up souls. But I cannot do that alone. And we cannot do that alone. Worship for us is an engagement of all senses. So, my friends, no matter who you are, if you have a voice, we need it. Now let me ask, are there any good singers in the house? Be proud. Any poor singers in the house? Any bad singers? Yeah. Anybody here? When I was growing up in church, I grew up African Methodist Episcopal, the oldest black church in the United States. And I was struck when I began working with the Unitarian Universalist congregations that there was this new concept in church of good singing and bad singing and mediocre singing. The idea that people would bring that paradigm into a room where our focus is to attend to each other's lives with our voices baffled. I'm going to ask you to step into the world of my childhood church for a few moments and consider good singers, bad singers, and somewhere in between. That the person to your left is not judging what you have to sound like. And I want to ask you to step into my childhood church paradigm and risk believing that the person to your right does not stand in need of your judgment. Come on now, I'll take an amen if you got one. There is more important work to be done with church. Save your analysis for the concert hall. And let's put something together that we each will remember as a strength to each of our lives for all of our living. Are you with me? Yeah. Oh, I woke up this morning with my mind, and it was stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind, and it was stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind, and it was stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. I'm walking, talking. You think your voice is something now? We just got started. I need your help to tell me a story, to tell each other a story. Yeah, I know the story. I'm going to tell it to you. We're going to do this story Mad Libs style. It's not that bad. And the story involves two parents and two children. And the two parents are parents of the two children, in case that helps in your naming. And I need their names. Just give me 1 second so I can take out a pen. The name of one of the parents is, anyone? Wait.
Sally.
Sally, fantastic. I heard one over here too. Geraldine. Hey, we may not know why Martha is there, but we will find a space for her. Is that not the purpose of the Unitarian Church? We don't know why you're here, but we'll find a space. I'm having too much fun already. I got it. The children's names. We need the children's names. What's that? Jack. Jack.
How are you?
I can't do it. I never get through. Someone over here said Jack, and then someone else said, and Jill. Khalil. Oh, I like that. Thank you. So Sally, Geraldine, Jack, Khalil, and Martha for some reason. I hope you'll let me pick on you. The story happens in a school, and Jack and Khalil went to school that day, and they got in a bit of trouble. They were not having one of their best days. And the school called home during the day. Sally was home. Geraldine was not at home yet. So Sally answers the phone. And they say, you need to talk to Jack and Khalil. They're having a bit of trouble. So Jack and Khalil come home, not realizing that the school has called, and they arrive, and Sally says, school called. And immediately terrified, they back up. And Jack and Khalil were breathing a sigh of relief because Sally said, well, your other parent, Geraldine, is not here yet. We'll wait. Right? Right? I was there. I know. So Geraldine finally gets home, but it takes her a little bit of time because she was having the most wonderful conversation with her old friend Martha. Oh, I love my job. I know. She was having a conversation, but it was over the phone, so I'm not sure what they said to each other. But it was a good conversation. They hadn't seen each other in years. Hadn't talked to each other in years. But anyway, I digress. Sally and Geraldine are now in the house. And Jack and Khalil, despite the smile on Geraldine's face from having heard from Martha, they are terrified again. They thought that things would cool down, but instead, now there are twice as many parents in the house than there were before. Have a seat, Sally and Geraldine said. And they proceeded to sit around the living room table. And Suddenly, Jack and Khalil, with a start and all at once, ran to their room and went into the closet. And they picked out an upside-down flower pot with the bottom turned upside down on the top of it. They had made this in Sunday school. And they had candles, but the candles required fire. So they asked their parents to help them out, as any good kid would do in the presence of fire. And together, they lit the upside-down flower pot and set it on the table. And in uncharacteristic sobriety for the moment, Jack and Khalil said, "Let us begin." So, Sally and Geraldine begin to talk through with Jack and Khalil what went on at the school. And they talked, and they talked, and some of the conversation was difficult, and some of it wound up being a lot easier than they thought. And they reconciled with each other and committed to do better again next time. That would have been the end of the story, but of course, Sally and Geraldine wanted to know, and they asked almost at once, "Wait a minute. Why is it that you made us light the upside-down flower pot before we had a conversation?" And they said, "Well, that's easy. We learned in our Sunday school class that when you light the chalice, it is to bring your best self to the table. And when you told us that school called, we were terrified. And we wanted to make sure you brought your best self to the table. Will you help me thank the cast?" Oh, I woke up this morning with my steady heart. Sing of freedom. Hallelujah. 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 Hundreds of years ago, George Friedrich Handel was bound for Ireland. He had worked up a stellar reputation, for his operas and his oratorios. And he took his stellar reputation with him to Dublin, Ireland, where they asked him to perform a concert of his works. Anybody know Handel? Then I may need your help. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. See, that's what I suspected. Look, Handel was bound for Ireland, and he was carrying with him the scripts of a piece that he had written just for the occasion. And he came to that ancient audience, and tickets sold fast. Imagine Beyonce, circa 2012. Joni Mitchell, circa 1972. Have I gone down your alley yet? Or the Rolling Stones at absolutely any time. He came, with his reputation for Ireland, and he was bringing with him a piece that he Messiah. Well, the musicians, for more than 2 hours, poured their selves, their souls, their lives into every note and every rhythm. And plaintive landscapes moved into bombastic fugues, enough to knock on the door of heaven itself. And all at once, at the end, the audience responded with a resounding clarity. And I quote, The truth is that Handel's Messiah was seen as a passable piece of music in its day, but no one seemed to be bowled over. At least not the majority. People did not necessarily see God. So why is it that these centuries later, we cannot enter a mall in December without hallelujah? We can't go to a holiday concert without hallelujah. It's in our radios, it's in our blood, it's in our life stream as living people in the 21st century. Here's how. What the critics will tell you, what the musicologists will tell you is that Handel's Messiah was not seen as anything but a passable piece of music in its day, but what they leave out are the handful of people who were transformed, the handful of people who were renewed, the handful of people who had to tell somebody about what they heard in that ancient audience. These are the people who hummed the tunes of Messiah in their homes and in their kitchens. And their children heard their singing. Yes, they did. And they sang too. And so did their children. And theirs. And theirs. These stories of Messiah endure because of the handful of people who, when the world around them had fixed to forget, refused to stop singing. My friends, it matters what you sing. It matters that you sing. Someone is looking for hope. Someone is looking for justice, for comfort, and you can help assure that the songs of hope and justice never die. If you believe in it, then your voice matters to ours. There is more love somewhere. Help me teach it if you know it. There is more love somewhere. And I'm going to keep on. And I'm going to keep on till I find it. Till somewhere.
Listen.
For the Alleluia chorus to go on, those who loved it had to be listening.
Listen.
For the songs of freedom and justice and love to move us, we have to be listening.
Listen.
For these songs to change us, we have to be listening.
Listen.
So listen to the songs that call us to our best selves.
Listen.
Listen to the songs that call us into deeper community.
Listen.
Listen to the songs that challenge us to new ways of being and new relationships.
Listen.
Listen to the songs that offer hope and healing and solidarity.
Listen.
Listen also for the voice of your own conscience, your own deepest self.
Listen.
Listen to your breath and your neighbor's breath.
Listen.
Listen to the breath of the fire and the breath of the water and the breath of the earth. Listen.
Listen.
Listen more often to things that to be. Listen more often to things that to be. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Ah, whoosh, sa, whoosh. The American composer of the 20th and 21st century, John Cage, wrote a piece entitled 4 minutes and 33 seconds. John Cage is the type of musician who would have his fellow musicians surround him in a circle on stage, with half of them having their backs fully to the audience. The idea was the performance is not about performing to you. In fact, you have a rare and intimate privilege to view a piece of music, an experience of music that they would have played whether you showed up or not. John's my kind of guy. John wrote a piece called 4 minutes and 33 seconds. Are you familiar? Anyone not familiar? I love evangelizing this piece. 4 minutes and 33 seconds is a piece in 3 movements, and you can perform it with orchestra, you can perform it with dance, you can perform it with piano, you can perform it in your home. There's a piece right there. The first movement, tacit, do not play anything. The second movement, tacit, do not play anything. The third movement, tacit, do not play anything. It's one of the easier pieces in my career to rehearse. Oftentimes, when people don't know what 4 minutes and 33 seconds is, they bristle and writhe in their seats, wondering what in the world is happening.
Has the orchestra frozen? What's going on? But I think Mr. Cage is on to something profound here. I believe that God exists somewhere in the connection between people. I believe God exists somewhere in the space between fingers that might connect. And I believe that they exist in the rare silences between rapid opinions. If you listen, there is a whole world going on around you. An intimate experience that would progress and spin whether you watch it or not. And it's made different, and if we're wise, more special by the fact that you are watching. I would love for us to perform the second movement of Mr. Cage's 4 minutes and 33 seconds. This movement will last 60 seconds. A moment in time to quiet ourselves and to enjoy the space between our words. Friends, before you go to the quiet place, know that I mean silence to be the absence of adult talking. Remember that the presence of children is a blessing here. The cries of our youngest generations is the sonic evidence of new life. They are a blessing to our silence, not a distraction. Play the piece with me. I'll watch the clock. Without haste. Come back with me from your quiet. quiet, please. Remember in the week ahead that so often when this many people gather, the choice is noise. But we make deeper walks for justice when we begin with breath, with deliberation. Amen.
Set me as a seal.
Set me as a seal
Upon your heart.
upon your heart. For love is strong
For love is strong.
as death. For love is strong. This Song of Solomon from the Hebrew Scriptures sings to us of love that is unquenchable, that is unextinguishable. Our living tradition draws from a variety of sources, and so today we have come together to feel the strength of our 5 congregations in person or online.
Gathering here on land where the Haudenosaunee, Kanien'kehá:ka, and the Mohican live. May we offer our gratitude to Mother Earth and the ancestors. May we live in humility, acknowledging the peoples and the displacement, the theft and the harm. Then may we move more gently upon Mother Earth, striving to do better, to be kinder, to live in harmony with the interdependent web. There are days, there are too many days these last couple of years in which the dominant sound is anger. The cacophonous pounding of my own heart breaking as one repugnant, egregious act after another compounds the complexity of the presidency that seems hell-bent on destroying democracy, focused on fear of difference. It can be so easy to be overwhelmed, our ears full of the lies of us versus them. One more appointment of incompetence, one more rollback of environmental protections, one more dodge avoiding ending gun violence, one more piece of legislation intent on conformity with whiteness, politeness, patriarchal flightness, conservative wing of so-called rightness. But might this actually be a clarion call to you, to me, to look at the ways in this faith we may have forgotten our own lightness, a little obscured by our own need to be right? Might this be an opportunity to examine our own tendencies found in the culture of white supremacy and expectations around timeliness, politeness, and thoughts of either-orness? Time to speak plainly. Black Lives Matter. Are you feeling this? Love that is strong as death. Strong, powerful, show up in solidarity, love. Vulnerable, humble, bear witness, make change kind of love.
And love is the spirit of this church, of this faith, of these people. Love will guide us, ushers forth from our lips. It must also pour forth from our thoughts and actions, yes? Yes. It can be scary to love those who are the same as we might be, and certainly to love those who seem so different. And yet love is exactly what we need. Educator Parker Palmer reminds us that the deeper the faith, the more doubt we must endure. The deeper the hope, the more prone we are to despair. The deeper the love, the more pain a loss will bring. These are a few of the paradoxes that we must hold as human beings. If we refuse to hold them in the hopes of living without doubt, despair, and pain, we also find ourselves living without faith, hope, and love.
For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common, not yet common good. When we sing, we begin with one note. We get ready with the breath, setting the intention to sing ourselves into being. And when we're ready, we sing the first note. And though we may not know it yet, we are singing, singing for our lives. For we are a gentle, angry, loving people.
And when I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary calls to me. Ms. Oliver reminds us you do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting. Honk, 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 the wild geese, harsh and exciting, announcing over and over your place in the family of things. We might look at the geese and think they are all the same. We might look at our congregations and think we are all the same. And while there are similarities that draw us to one another, it is our differences that help us fly or fall together. Feeling that love is so strong inside us, letting it pour forth, encouraging one another to lead, resting and letting someone else lead, forming a V, not only so each can see where one is going, but also to share the uplift of wings and wind, so that each one's work benefits each other. Carry on. Lead us. I've got your back. We're in this together. Here is my place and there is your place in the family of things.
Writer, womanist, activist Audre Lorde reminds us that the complexity of that family in which we live. She said, "We have been taught to either ignore our differences or to view them as causes for separation and suspicion rather than as forces for change. Without community, there is no liberation. But community must not mean a shedding of our differences, nor the pathetic pretense that these differences do not exist.
We are grappling with whiteness and politeness and binary thought process, asking us to conform to the right or the leftness. Misappropriation and cultural theft leaves us all bereft of the beautiful rainbow of all Earth's people. Community requires unity, which is not the same as sameness. We must proclaim this. To join in solidarity requires some shared clarity of the disparity in the world. Decolonize our lives as we strive to stay alive in solidarity with youth at Parkland High. Enough is enough. We can rise together, these congregations 5. What is the state of our nation that still limits the stations of too many? We must commit to the Reformation, because we are a rhythm nation. Dismantling white supremacy for you and him and her and Zir and me. For there is no us versus them. There is only we. Look around at how lucky we are to be alive right now. Our differences need not divide us. Indeed, the harmony we seek requires difference. At least difference that makes a difference. Ben, qualis, ben.
Enter.
Rejoice
And come in.
May we be filled with loving kindness.
Spirit of light, sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. We are the ones we've been waiting for.
We are answering the call of love.
When the fire of commitment sets our minds and souls ablaze,
I pray for you. You pray for me. I love you. I need you to survive.
Listen more often to things than to beings. Harmony requires difference.
Together, we can do great things. This weekend, we have made beautiful music together. We marched to end gun violence and support our young leaders together. Learned together. We created this moving worship experience together. All the good work of our wider community is made possible by our generosity together. So I call us now into the spiritual practice of generosity. This morning's collection goes toward the Hudson, Mohawk, Unitarian Universalist cluster of these 5 congregations we have gathered here, although checks can be made out to the cluster's fiduciary body, Albany UU. The donations support this morning's service, yesterday's workshop, and an annual advertising budget for this cluster of congregations. May we make an offering in gratitude for all the gifts our togetherness brings to us and to the world. And as the plate passes you by, I invite you to give as gratefully and as generously as you are able.
whether the storm is coming
the storm is over,
or the storm is finally
finally
here. How we agree to act matters.
what we agree to say matters.
How we agree to sing matters.
You know why we preach to the choir? To get them to sing.
And we need them to sing over and over again
We need to sing the same songs
and say the same things
and do the same actions
over and over again,
because that is how we teach ourselves
and each other.
how we want to be.
There's a funny thing about repetition. On one hand, it's how we learn all the songs on the radio, all the commercial jingles that get stuck in our head, and how we remember lines of poetry and what to buy at the store and how to put the puzzle together. But we are also told that repetition is a vice.
In fact, we are told over and over and over again not to repeat ourselves.
So that we are afraid to repeat ourselves.
We get afraid to repeat ourselves.
But there's no repetition if there's no repetition. If there's no repetition, there is no rhythm.
Rhythm, rhythm, rhythm.
Repetition and rhythm can empower resistance.
Resisting the status quo requires us to repeat ourselves.
March and march and march.
Witness, advocate. Witness, advocate.
Run, run, run.
Listen. Center. Listen. Respond. Listen. Listen.
We will repeat ourselves until those we are speaking to are changed.
Resistance requires that we repeat ourselves until we are changed. Singing together teaches us that repeating ourselves is exactly how we go from sounding like clanging cymbals to sounding like harmony. Singing together teaches us that repeating ourselves is a statement of commitment, of covenant. Singing together teaches us that when times get hard, we don't walk away, but rather we show up again and again. We repeat ourselves again.
And when we sing together and commit together and covenant together and endeavor to resist together, we affirm our common practices and teach them to ourselves and teach them to our children and teach them to the world. And soon we learn that we can weather the bad storms together, leaning into the things we choose together and the songs we sing together. Soon we learn that we can embrace the storms together, feeling our parched ground and our parched bodies and our parched souls finally feeling refreshed and renewed. And soon we learn that the rivers, these beautiful rivers that need the dryness and the mud and the rain, these rivers that we return to again and again, these rivers give us strength, give us hope, give us come together. And this is the blessing. May our intention be one of connection. This is our song.
This is the one we choose to sing together.
And this is the blessing.
May our songs be filled with more love, more hope, more joy.
This is our song.
A breath, our breath, the ancestors' breath, the earth's breath.
And this is the blessing.
May we remember to listen to everyone and everything.
This is our song.
Many voices becoming a celebration of harmony.
And this is the blessing.
May we remember that difference is central to the experience.
This is our song, choosing to come back again and again. And this is the blessing. May we return to one another for strength in the storm and healing in the resistance.
Go now into your corners of the world, knowing that your community needs your voice. Your voice is part of our voice, and together, our song can be full of hope, full of action, full of the prophetic gift that says to the world, there is more love to be found. Go with love in your eyes. Go with peace on your lips. And go with justice in the very soles of your feet. Amen.